Churubusco is a neighborhood of Mexico City, under the current territorial division of the Mexican Federal District. It is a part of the borough of Coyoacán. It is centered on the former Franciscan monastery at 19.35556 degrees north, 99.14861 degrees west, 19.35556 minus 99.14861. The name Churubusco is the interpretation the Spanish conquistadors gave to the original Nahuatl name Huitzilopochco, meaning place of Huitzilopochtli. Earlier attested forms that the adapted name took include Huitzilopochtco, Ocolopusco, Ocoropusco, Huitzilopochtli, and Churubusco. History: 11th century. The first settlers are believed to have arrived in the area, possibly fleeing the fall of the Toltec Empire. 15th century. Huitzilopochtco existed as an independent lordship within Mexico Tenochtitlan. Its first ruler was Huitzilopochtli, a grandson of Huitzilopochtli II Tlatoani. Its population numbered some 15,000, dedicated to the cultivation of fruit and flowers and the extraction of salt from the neighboring Lake Texcoco. A temple dedicated to the worship of Huitzilopochtli stood at a location known as Huitzilopochtli. Within the Aztec Empire, this teocalli ranked second only to the one at the Templo Mayor in Mexico Tenochtitlan. Huitzilopochtco was famous for the hummingbird feathers that it sent in tribute to the capital. 16th century. In 1503, a Huitzilopochtli, the 8th Tlatoani, connected a nearby spring to the Mexico Tenochtitlan water supply. This is believed to have been the direct cause of the Great Flood of that year that devastated the city and claimed hundreds of lives, including that of a Huitzilopochtli during Hernán Cortés's siege of Mexico Tenochtitlan in 1521. Huitzilopochtco was razed to the ground. Some years later, Franciscan friars founded a small convent in the Huitzilopochtli district, using stones from the destroyed teocalli of Huitzilopochtli. The convent was dedicated to Mary, Queen of Angels. The Franciscans appear to have abandoned it shortly after. The church was transferred to the care of the regular clergy, and in 1580, responsibility for the convent was handed to a second group of Franciscan friars. They rebuilt the monastery and added a novitiate and a school. 17th century. In the second half of this century, thanks to the generosity of Juan Diego del Castillo and his wife, the monastery was completely rebuilt and much expanded. Rededicated in 1678, it now consisted of an oratory, dormitories, schoolrooms, a library, a refectory, upper and lower cloisters, a dispensary and an apothecary, and an Andalusian-style courtyard built around a well. 18th century. A series of enhancements were made to the monastery and its church, including a Churubusco altar dedicated to Our Lady of Guadalupe in 1766 and the installation of an organ in 1791. In 1797, an independent chapel, dedicated to St. Anthony of Padua, was erected. 19th century. Battle of Churubusco. On the 20th of August 1847, during the U.S. invasion of Mexico, a bloody and decisive battle was fought in Churubusco, specifically in the vicinity of the monastery. In 1857, President Ignacio Comonfort had a monument commemorating the heroic defense of the monastery built in front of its main gates. The remains of Francisco Peñanuri and Luis Martinez de Castro, two army officers who led the men to perish in a desperate bayonet charge after running out of ammunition during the battle, were interred inside. In 1869, during the reform period under President Benito Juárez, the monastery was taken over by the state. It was converted into a military hospital specializing in contagious diseases. 20th century. In 1917, the National University's Inspectorate of Artistic and Historic Monuments managed to convince the authorities that the former monastery would fare better as a museum. As a hospital, it had been more than a little neglected and was in danger of collapse. The museum was opened to the public in 1921. With the rapid expansion of Mexico City during the mid-20th century, Churubusco ceased to be a separate village and was swallowed up by the urban sprawl of the capital. The motion picture production facility of Estudios Churubusco, the nerve center of the golden age of Mexican cinema, opened in the district in 1945. Present day, the former monastery of Churubusco now houses the state-run Interventions Museum, documenting the different assaults on its territorial integrity that Mexico has suffered since declaring its independence in 1810 to 1829, 1838, 1846, 1862, and 1916. It stands in a residential neighborhood just outside the southernmost loop of the Inner Ring Road, in the middle of a pleasant, wooded plaza. Metro General Anaya is located in the vicinity. Other nearby street names commemorating the area's history include Cal Eros del 47, Cal 20 Dragosto, and Cal Martyrs Irlandeses.